Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, baseball fans. Welcome back to the Barstool Baseball Show. This is the American League Friday show. Huge show. Delighted. Joined by our in-house expert, Chris Castellani, and special guest, the Short Porch Boys. Hubs, you're familiar to the channel. Smokes, this is your first time on Barstool Baseball programming. Welcome to the show, boys.
I think I might have been on once last year, but definitely first 2023 appearance.
Yeah, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. Castellani, you're back after a no spoiler dozen trivia experience.
Yes, very much so. And it was a pretty wild week. And I literally can't wait. No spoilers, obviously, for people to watch some of these dozen matches.
Hubs, you're rich as fuck. If you're watching this on YouTube, you notice he's in the penthouse suite on the 77th floor overlooking, is that Central Park? Is that, what is it?
Oh, it's on Billionaires Row, actually.
Yeah, it's a nice little third floor deck we got here. Circumstances require me to be outside today because people are inside our lounge, so here we are. Just don't judge me. This is a bad angle for me, but don't judge me. It's the show on the road.
This is a judge-free zone. This is a baseball show. It's Friday. It's the American League show. You can tune in for the Wednesday National League show. Obviously, every Monday is the power ranking panel, where Castellani, Hubs, as well as Clemmer join us to break down the top of the league. Fridays, though, American League. And we like to spend a good deep dive each show on a particular team. We did the Padres on Wednesday. Today we're doing the Yankees. And I'm sorry we waited this long to do the Yankees, but it seems appropriate now to kind of dive in, and that's where we want to start with you guys. And so just like off the top, it seems like vibes are good. If we throw away Wednesday night's game against the Orioles, at the time of recording, you guys are 1-1 in a 3-game series with the Orioles. But otherwise looking good.
Yeah, this April was bad. April was a miserable, like every day you wake up and there was another injury and they weren't hitting at all. It's kind of the same story as the end of last year where they were just a 500 team and the Rays were winning every single game. And then all of a sudden May turned around, they got a little healthier, and it kind of all coincided with the return of Harrison Bader. Pretty much gave them the spark and lift that they needed. And then Judge comes back from his mini IL stint and they started to hit the ball. They're scoring about 5 or 6 runs a game now. And the pitching's coming a little back to earth, but overall, like, the vibes are high right now. They're playing like the team that they should be, and they're going to get a little healthier soon with Stanton probably back in about 2-3 weeks. So, vibes are much better.
Yeah, after April, I was like, all right, this team isn't it this year, the way they were playing. So it is kind of scary to know that team still exists somewhere, I feel like, deep down. But yeah, I mean, lately they've been, like, Aaron Judge's been playing out of his mind. It's just, I've gotten to the point where it's like, you just got to we're watching an all-time great baseball player in Aaron Judge. Yeah. Like every night, it's just like we're gonna remember the fact that we're watched this career. But yeah, vibes are definitely good right now. They've been playing a lot better. I mean, I think the Blue Jays series last week was a massive turning point. Just such an eventful series, and so many kind of weird things happen. And I'm a big like destiny, like a team needs special things to happen. Like you need to have a few things, and they had like some things happen last week that I feel like kind of got them on the right track, and they've carried that momentum until last night.
The kind of stuff that if you win the World Series gets put on the DVD type of thing. Yeah. Like those make sure you put a star by those moments. Yeah, I felt that way about that Toronto series.
I don't know if they make DVDs anymore for the World Series, but the World Series YouTube video or whatever.
I'm old as fuck, aren't I? Yeah, you're right. The whatever it is, the Disney Plus World Series series. Yeah.
So Tommy, you very much are like a diehard Yankees fans. I mean, like, I know in the bigger Barstool universe, but like this is where your heart is at. First, is this your number one team or number one sport?
Yeah, definitely my number one team. I don't know about number one sport. Like, I would rather watch a random football game than a random baseball game. But the Yankees as a team are definitely number one.
Yeah. So then, can I just stay quickly on Judge? As you say, I like that point when you say, like, we're watching an all-time great player. So just like historically speaking, who would you put him? Like, what is your top? What do you have, like a Mount Rushmore Yankees?
I mean, he's not close.
You have to win a World Series to get on there. But he's definitely like on the track there. If he wins a few, yeah, sure.
So he's not even like your personal, like, since you started Yankees baseball, he's not on the Mount Rushmore.
Well, you have Jeter, Mariano. I mean, I guess if we're talking pure talent,
Yeah, but that,
I
like
mean,
I think Mount Rushmore is more of a just your favorite Yankees, and in my life, he's not there yet. You have to win.
Wow.
Like I'm putting Matsui goes over him.
Wow.
Matsui's
Dude,
my guy.
Let me be
That
clear
was
on
the-
this. Let me be clear on this for a second, Hubs. You're saying Hideki Matsui is higher on your all-time Yankee list than Aaron Judge.
You guy won us a World Series. He was a World
And
Series
I don't-
MVP.
I don't.
And
agree.
went nuts
Well,
after.
are you talking personal favorite or like?
Yeah, I think that's like I don't even know really what the question is, but for
well,
me,
that's different.
if we're talking
doing
like
personal
all-time
like,
favorite Yankees, like you have to win me a World Series. I'm sorry, like Aaron Judge is for sure on the once he wins one, he goes almost like maybe to the like right up below Jeter, but like I can't put him there yet. It's too early.
There was a debate at HQ. I think it started during Pick Central about 2 months ago that lasted like about 10 shows of whether or not Hideki Matsui is a Yankees legend. I said yes. And a lot of people, and it was really split about 50-50. Like, ask Clemmer about it. He is adamantly like, no fucking way.
Oh, Clemmer. I mean, he's not a Yankee fan. It's not for him to decide.
Clemmer wouldn't know success and happiness and fucking hit him in the face.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he resents him so much. Yeah.
Yeah, well said.
I mean, it's hard to call Hideki Matsui a legend when guys like Mickey Mantle,
Yeah,
Joe DiMaggio exist, but he's kind of legendary. Does that make sense?
I mean, like, when Hideki Matsui comes back to Yankee Stadium, he gets a massive standing ovation.
roar.
yeah.
To me, that's like legendary stuff.
I don't know, man. Growing up, like that guy was the man for me. Like obviously Derek Jeter, obviously Mariano Rivera, Pettit, Posada, but like growing up in my prime, viewing as a kid, like Matsui was the fucking man, and he literally won them. I mean, so did A-Rod, obviously, carried them, but when it came to the World Series, like he put the Phillies away. And then if you ask any Red Sox fan in those 2010s or whatever, or late 2000s, they'll be like, Matsui put the fear of God in my eye. Whenever that guy was up, like I was terrified. I love that man. That guy can do no wrong for me, and he has a fun porn collection, which is funny.
Now, I will say, as I look at your roster today, and I don't even mean this as like a transition or to be facetious, but damn, you guys could use a guy exactly like Hideki Matsui. Like, not somebody that has to, you already have like the top of the order. I mean, somebody that could hit fifth or sixth and really strike fear and do damage and fill an outfield spot because, as I just kind of look at this, like you obviously the slugging percentage for the Yankees is through, is towards the top of Major League Baseball, home runs towards the top of Major League Baseball. But like the quality at bat is low to me. When I think of the Yankees, I think like quality of at bat is lower, but the talent and the capacity to like do damage and fuck people up is still really high. So generally speaking, like, is this a tempo timing offense? Is this an offense that can get hot for a number of games? Or is this more of like over a broad period of time, you can expect the same type of consistent output?
So a few things to that, like one quick interesting one is their outfield, I believe OPS is one of the lower groups in baseball, which is astonishing when you consider Aaron Judge is doing what he's doing. But that's how bad left field has been all year. And until Bader came back, center field was bad as well. Because you had Aaron Hicks patrolling out there and IKF. Like, it's been bad. But now with Bader back, and Bader kind of hopefully can do that Matsui role that you're kind of talking about. You throw him sixth, and he's put up, if you watch Harrison Bader's at-bats on a nightly basis, like, those are quality at-bats that you want from, like, the whole 1 through 9. So his addition has been, and that trade was, talked about a lot when it first happened, and then he didn't play for a while because he had the plantar fasciitis. So, but he's been great. I love Harrison Bader. You don't have to worry about a single ball in center field. And like I said, the quality of bats are good. But in terms of like what you're saying with the lineup, I do think there's more balance than there has been in the past. And there is speed as well, which is nice, especially with the new rules. But it is kind of, as Tommy alluded to, like, we see what could happen in April and then May. It is kind of streaky, which is terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Another lefty, I think. Like, you got Rizzo, who's been awesome this year, but outside of that, there's not like a lefty that really you fear. Like, I feel like the Yankees growing up, their best lineups were very split. A lot of lefties that could take advantage of the short porch and right. Like, to me, I worry about the offense. Like, if the Yankees don't make the playoffs, which I think they'll make the playoffs, but if they don't make the playoffs or they fizzle out in the playoffs, it'll be because the offense goes dormant, which has been the case for like years.
Yeah, I mean that was what happened. Last year trying to beat the Astros basically at their own game, and you get shut down. I have a quick question about Harrison Bader. Because usually when a guy goes to a new team and pops off the way he has, it's swing change, it's finally healthy, change of scenery. What's been the number one reason why Bader's taken off the way he has in New York?
So he has a fun story in The Athletic where he came over in the trade and then had the injury, right? And then when he first started, he played about 2 weeks before the playoffs. Like that's really like all the playing time he had. And he didn't do well. And like he didn't really get going until the playoffs. And he said that he's friends with Pete Alonso and he was gifted a bat from him. And I guess Pete has like a different type of handle than most people. It's like an axe. He described it as like an axe type handle, whatever. And he said the feel of it, he took like BP with it once. And he goes, wow, this is awesome. And then he said the feel of it has just like put him in this like new zone and new mode that he's like never been in before. And he claims this like bat handle has like kind of changed the way he's hit. So
this is like a story from 1999 about why a guy just hit 57 home runs.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, I guess it's the magic bat. Yeah, I don't know.
I also think he's a guy that just likes the bright lights. Like, I think there's a lot of guys who come to New York and they crumble. Harrison Bader, he's from the New York area. Like, he, to me, is a guy that just embraces, Yankee Stadium and the quote unquote magic or aura, and like it fuels him instead of letting it crumble him.
Yeah, and if you saw actually in the offseason, he was at every night he was either at a Knick game or a Ranger game. That guy loves MSG, loves being on Celebrity Row. Like he's
from there though, right?
Yeah, he's a Bronxville kid. He's a Bronxville kid, so like he thrives in all of this. He's having a blast. I really hope they extend him. Like he's a free agent at the end of the year. Like that's a guy that they should absolutely give a 3 or 4 year deal to and keep him here and just have center field, have a stability in center field because I love everything I'm seeing from him.
I think baseball more than other sports lends itself to like you're living your dream more. Like gives you a little bit more boost. Like, if you grew up a Yankees fan, you wanted to go play for the Yankees, you're in Yankee Stadium. Like I think that means a little bit more than growing up and like, the kid from Naperville that plays tight end for the Bears or something. Like sure, whatever, kid. But like that, I feel like wearing the pinstripes for a guy like Harrison Bader. Okay, so then other than him, let's just look ahead quickly. Tommy, I like you say lefty. Trade deadline, is there so if you had to add one piece for this team, maybe not a player, if there is a player you like, I'd like to hear about it, but just generally speaking, like is there an exact profile or how much would you be willing to commit to go all in this year?
I would like a lefty or a switch hitter, but a lefty that hits for average. Like they don't need to be a big home run hitter. I'd like a guy, and I like a guy that could hit, I don't know, even 270 or 280, just a guy that's going to have good quality at bats in the playoffs when you're facing power pitchers. Is it going to Judge and Giancarlo, obviously they're great, but they're prone to the strikeout, like they're a big power righty. So if there's a big power righty on the mound, I want a lefty that could go up there, have a good at bat, work the count, get on base, a base hit, walk, something like that. The name that keeps getting thrown out there, which I am perplexed by, is Jock Peterson. People being like, "Oh, Jock Peterson, you have to give up a lot for Jock Peterson." The Yankees do not need Jock. Jock Peterson is not that good. Like,
he's elite. He's as good as anyone in baseball at hitting elevated fastballs and hard four seamers. Like he,
no doubt,
perfect for you guys in October. I could see him hitting like 8 home runs in a playoffs for you guys.
His swing
did with the Braves a few years back. He went nuts.
So his swing is perfect for Yankee Stadium. Obviously, he's that prototypical lefty you want. I don't believe he's played a single inning in the outfield this year. So that's an issue.
Oh, wow.
I could be wrong. I think he's DH the entire year for the Giants. They need a lefty that can play. Like, he would be a nightmare. Left field at Yankee Stadium is way different than most left fields. It's huge. You need a good left fielder out there. Otherwise, you're going to get killed. So probably not him. I have a few guys in my mind. Yastrzemski from the Giants would be fun.
I like him.
He doesn't hit for, he's not a 300 hitter per se, but he's just a good player. Bellinger is going to be the name that's going to be out there. He's, a rental for sure. And I think he just went down with a little bit of an injury, but I mean, he's a great fielder and has that, sweet stroke, and he's kind of gotten it back this year. And a different guy, if you want to go the righty aspect, and that's not what Tommy wants, but A guy who I just don't understand why he bounces around so much, but Hunter Renfroe. I love Hunter Renfroe. I absolutely love it. I don't understand it. When he was a Red Sox, I never wanted him to come to the plate as a Yankee fan. He's over.
That was a terrible trade.
Terrible.
Getting JB back. Yeah.
Terrible. Yeah. I mean, yeah, people want to suck Heim Bloom up and down. You traded Hunter Renfroe for Jackie Bradley Jr. What are you doing, pal? But for the most part, that dude's an 800 OPS guy. I think his career is like just a slight under that, but he's just a good hitter. He's a 111 OPS plus this year. Like, we could use a guy like him, and he's a good fielder. He's got a huge arm.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a righty. That's if he was a lefty, he'd be perfect. But he's a righty. So I think he'll be available at the deadline, unless the Angels. I mean, they did just sweep the Red Sox, so maybe they won't. Maybe they won't. Yeah, maybe they won't be sellers. But that's just the kind of name that every single year he becomes available, and I'm just like, why is he so available every year? I don't get it.
Yeah, that is bizarre. And he's having another good season this year. It's funny, Tommy, because the player you're describing was who you got last year with Benintendi, where it's like, hey, lefty works the count, not going to hit for a ton of power. Power numbers might be elevated playing with the short porch, and he couldn't stay healthy for you guys. And even he hasn't had that great of a year. He has not had a very good year this year, but I still feel like that caliber of player falls in line with what you're looking for, because a huge issue you guys had in the playoffs last year and the years before. Too many fucking strikeouts. I mean, it wasn't just not hitting. You weren't putting the ball in play. Somebody like that would be hugely beneficial.
Yeah, I don't think any of the names I mentioned there are going to be too much of a haul to get. Like, not all.
Ballinger will cost you a little bit if he stays on this path.
He's a rental, isn't he?
He is, but
that does help the price.
The reason is he's going to play every day, and he plays Gold Glove defense.
Yeah. He's definitely
getting
prize.
You're getting like a bigger improvement than just like Jock. And Tommy, I'm sorry to I was jumping back on Jock, because he is the complete opposite of what you described. Like, he can give you big moments, but he's also going to supply for each big moment. There's going to be a handful of those, like, how did you swing through that? And that certainly. So it's at this time of recording, they're 6 games behind first place. They've got 30 wins. Can you guys take us a little bit in the mindset for Yankees fans? Like, is there a sense where you guys feel disrespected? Like, where the outsiders want to see you guys fail, where the whole world wants to see the Orioles and the Rays compete against you guys. Is there some sort of internal, fuck you guys? Or as Yankees fans, are you guys so much higher and just look down on the rest of us?
Yeah, I'd say I don't people should be rooting against the Yankees. Like that I would prefer people to be rooting against the Yankees. Like, I never want the Yankees to be this lovable underdog team that America comes. Like, people should be rooting against the Yankees. So yeah, the Rays and Orioles, those are teams that I understand people are going to rally around. That doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I totally understand people not wanting us to win. They should never want us to win. We're just call themselves the evil empire. That's just who we are. Even though I will say I do have a thing about the Yankees and Star Wars for another time, but the Orioles are fun to root for. How can you? I mean, Adley Rutschman and all those young guys. Of course, people are going to gravitate to them. I do hope. I don't really care as a fan, what people think of me, but I do hope the players do have a little bit of that fuck you. People kind of wrote us off already in April here, and this is only a 6-game lead, and we have so much baseball to play here. That's what I just hope the players have it, and it seems like they do. The last 3 weeks, they have attacked every single game like it's a playoff game. There has been a playoff mentality, we got to show up every single day here and win this baseball game. They didn't really have that in April, and to an extent, it was because of the injuries and it was just depressing. They have that in May. They need to continue because there's a whole lot of baseball left.
The one thing about the Yankees, and we can make fun of what they do in the playoffs all we want, but the fact is every player on that roster, sans Volpe, is a veteran. They have all played in the postseason, made deep runs through the postseason. That is such a huge advantage. I think you saw that in the Blue Jays series, where you came across a much more poised team than Toronto did. And I know Toronto made the playoffs last year, but I mean that can carry you a long way in the regular season.
Yeah, you want to talk about an unlikable team. The Toronto Blue Jays I feel like they went from a bubble. They are just insufferable.
They are the Memphis Grizzlies of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's just what I mean. I'm not gonna. That's not an original. Like I feel like people have said that, but they
less
really
fun play. But
so far, at least that we know. No, I mean, those guys talk so much shit for doing absolutely nothing. And they're kind of getting put in their place right now. I still think their offense is too talented for them to be this bad, but I do not like their pitching whatsoever, especially Alek Manoah.
So I have this, like, I would say, I don't know if I would say lifetime. I think baseball would be at its best if, like, maybe, I don't know if it's 2 out of 3 or 3 out of every 4 years, there's a Game 5 at home ALDS at Yankee Stadium. I don't want to give you guys the championship series, but purely as an outsider, so this is my perspective, like, I don't hate on the Yankees at all. I think it's a church. It's a cathedral. It's an honor. If you talk to big leaguers, they'll tell you like every guy remembers their first game at Yankee Stadium. Every guy remembers their experiences there. If you were like, all right, now what about Kauffman? They're like, So like, and I mean, in a world of like elite and spectacular in a game that's been played forever, that's like really special shit. So as an outsider, like I like to see the Yankees be a successful organization versus I don't like when you guys dump when people have to dump on the front office and Cashman's a bad guy and all that stuff. Like I like when the bad guys are on the field and you're fucking pissed at a reliever that blew the game, not because Cashman didn't give you guys the right tools to succeed. So like speaking of on that note, tools to succeed, I want to talk about the starting pitching after Garrett Cole because on the outside, right, I see Nestor Cortez, Severino, and is it Germain? Am I saying that?
Domingo Germán.
I'm fucking sorry. I'm horrible with names.
So he's not worth pronouncing.
Perfect. So then can we just talk about Severino and Cortez then? Because I think
disagree. I think Germán is pretty good.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
I mean, he's an idiot. So I remember.
That's what I was saying.
Like when he's healthy and on the field and not suspended, he's just a good pitcher. Like if you just look at his numbers, he delivers. He's a guy on the mound that I think has really good stuff. And yeah, he's an idiot. I can't stress that enough. But he pitches well.
Yeah, he's a guy that I almost can't explain why he's so successful. Like he doesn't have like dominant stuff at all, but kind of everything, his pitch count is always in check. He's never throwing too many pitches. He's always like 70 pitches in the 7th inning. It's like, how is this happening? But he's an absolute moron, no doubt about it. In terms of Severino and Cortez is the real problem here because Sevy just came back from injury and he's always going to be injured. Now he's healthy. He looked great against the Reds. I'm very excited for Sevy. Good time for him to come back. Nestor is having a big issue with facing the lineup the third time around. Like a major problem. And we didn't see this for the last 2 years, but whatever. I don't know if it's a pitch clock thing, if he's tiring out, if it's stamina, whatever, or it's just a weird year for him. But he has not looked the same as it gets deeper in the games. And you saw it specifically last night, 6 innings last night against Baltimore. He's cruising. Then he gives up 2 hits and then a home run off the foul pole in the 7th inning. Before you know, it's a 5-4 game. They end up giving 8 runs in that inning. And this has kind of happened a lot. He's had like one really good start this year and everything else has been like average to mediocre to poor. Now the beauty of that is that with the rotation they have on paper, you don't need Nestor to be your 2 like in prior years. Nestor's more like your 4. And, if with Severino back and Rodon is finally here past this back injury, it seems. So you're penciling him in for late June, early July. When you have him in, and people forget like how good that guy is because we literally have.
So Lisa, can you take me? I'm sorry because I'm all these names are flying around. So you're saying Cole would be 1.
Yep.
So Rodon would be 2.
Yep.
2.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Sevy's your 3.
Okay. And Severino's stuff plays in the playoffs, right? Is that correct?
No doubt. That's a guy who feeds off a crowd, and just like thrives in those types. He's also in a contract year, something to put out there. Good guy, Aaron Judge type stuff. I like contract years. I want to see those types of performances. You see as a pitcher too, a guy who knows he's been injured in the past and who kind of probably knows he's being disrespected out there based off of what he thinks he can do. So I'm going on the Severino contract year. Let's have a great second half and into the postseason for him. But yeah, if he's your 3, that's a pretty damn good 1, 2, 3. And then you have Nestor for your 4th. Who is still very good, but you don't have to rely on him for as much as you did in the past. That works. So I like their rotation moving forward if they can get Rodon healthy, because we literally have not seen this man pitch, and it's insane.
Right.
Yeah, and he has a long history of injury too, which doesn't help.
Yeah, but the one thing that kind of helps to that is like he's tired out in the past, right? In the last 2 years, kind of he just like
So you get him on the back end.
Right.
Yeah.
So like we got that out of the way. So now we have him fresh. That's the way I'm seeing that.
If the Yankees are going in October with a healthy Cole, Rodon, and Severino, I'll feel very good. The issue is getting there. Like I feel like we've had so many years in the past where we've been like, as Yankee fans, I know 2019 was a big year where it's like, if we just get healthy for the playoffs, like everybody's going to come back and be healthy for the playoffs, and it just doesn't happen. Somebody gets hurt at some point. Yeah. If those three are healthy, then yeah, that can match any top three in baseball. It's just a ginormous if.
Yep. Now, Nestor Cortez is an interesting guy to me because he's a career Yankee, right? I think he was drafted out of high school.
He got cut, but I don't know if he's ever appeared in the majors with another team.
I think he was an Oriole. He was an Oriole.
Okay. In the major leagues?
I believe. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, it's Seattle briefly.
Okay, so small cups of coffee elsewhere, but like his heart is with the Yankees, right? Yeah. So, and he's proven, again, outside perspective, is the type of guy who would like do anything the club asks him to do. Is there any sense where like maybe this is a guy who could just go throw him in the bullpen and he's got a rubber arm and can come out and be funky like a bunch of multiple times? You know, you could use him 3 times in a 3-game series, and he's effective for the 3-batter rule while still being killer against lefties. Yeah. Like you're not giving that much up against righties, I don't think.
Yeah, he's done that. That's how he came up. Nestor. I was a Nestor fan from 2019 when he was this funky long reliever who would come in and he would be weird with his rotation and he'd like kick his leg weird and shit. And I just loved him. And then he ended up getting cut, and then comes back eventually. But so yeah, I mean, he has the ability to be a reliever for sure, I think. But I think it's unfair to already put him there where like. He had 2 really good seasons as a starting pitcher. It's not like it was a fluke good few months. Like he had 2 full seasons. I mean, let's see how many 28, 42 total starts over 21 and 22, where he was just a really good to great pitcher. So you know that's in there. Like that's inside of him to be that good. And yeah, maybe he's going through a rough patch right now. And if that continues until October, then yeah, maybe he's a reliever. But I still am trusting Nestor, not giving up hope yet.
Yeah, I don't see any situation where he becomes a reliever in the regular season. The postseason, no doubt. If they're fully healthy, like that happens to people. You know, like your 4th starter does become a bit of a reliever sometimes or whatever, 5th starter. So could happen, but yeah, I think he turns this around. He's just too good to be a 5.3 ERA pitcher. You know, it just isn't him.
I want to shout out Aaron Judge real quick because we talked about him off the top, but I want to be specific about this. There's a chance he's underpaid and that he's underrated. 6 of his last 8 home runs have tied or taken a lead. And at a time when you said you come out of April and you're feeling funky and you need a little something here, he's on a torrid heater. I believe 15 for his last 37. The slugging percentage is like 6,000. So do you is there a sense, though, where it's like he's doing all the work? Like in basketball, I wouldn't give a fuck because it's like, yeah, dude, go score 35, right? Like in football, in a sense, it's like, yeah, that's your quarterback. He's supposed to go hang 4 touchdowns and 350 yards. Like obviously in baseball, you want to spread the wealth a little bit. Like is he that much better than the rest of that lineup? Where like when Rizzo is the second best guy, you're like, well, we got Rizzo in the lineup too. Like no disrespect, guys. I was saying that stuff in 2019, 18, and it felt like it was diminishing then. So. I guess like is it? And then when you look at the Rays too, and like all the depth they have, like what's that like when you have so much of it focused into the one player?
There's just it's such a different vibe when he's out of the lineup and into the line. And I forget off the top of my head the record they have when he hits a home run versus when he doesn't hit a home run. It's jarring. Like there's just a different way to pitch to this lineup when he's not in there. Like so. Do we rely on him? I mean, listen, we pay him the money he's the captain, he's the MVP. Yeah. Like that's what you're supposed to do. You know, that's your guy. But I think they have other ways to score. And like, you know, hopefully Volpe comes around a little bit more here and he helps the bottom of the order and that becomes more of a thing. But I mean, yeah, do we rely on him? Yeah, probably. But like, that's when you pay the guy as much as you want, wins the MVP. Yeah, like I'm not gonna complain about relying on Aaron Judge. That's what he's here for.
Yeah, he is he's the whole offense. Like for not this year as much, but last year he was in the second half last year, he was the entire offense. Like nobody else hit and he was hitting, literally breaking the home run record. So like he definitely is. This year, I think Rizzo's been better. Volpe, he's had his struggles at times, but he's also had good moments at times. Gleyber is having a good year. Like, I know people love to get on Gleyber, but he's having a pretty productive season.
He's had a good year, yeah.
Yeah, like, so they have more ways to score this year, but they go as Aaron Judge. Like, let's put it this way. If Aaron Judge goes in a slump, the Yankees are fucked.
There are moments this year where I watch them and I'm like, oh my God, could you imagine if he was on the Giants? Like
they would have 14 wins.
I wouldn't be available to have this conversation with you guys. I'd be in another place, maybe another world. It's just like I couldn't imagine him not being on this team.
Sorry, real quick, Carl. That is legitimately why I respect. One of the big reasons I respect him is like I feel like it'd be very easy to go to San Francisco or go to an environment that is less intense. You know what I mean? I do appreciate the fact it's like, no, I want to be at the biggest stage and try to win at the biggest stage, not just relax. Because they're like, it's been brought up a million times. Like some guys can't handle New York, some guys have trouble with it, and some guys embrace it. For him to embrace it the way he has, pretty awesome.
I think it's not impossible. It's very difficult to get to celebrity status as an athlete in New York. And when I say celebrity status, I mean, can you go to Prince Street Pizza on a Thursday night and not get mobbed? And for the most part, I would imagine Garrett Cole might get mobbed a little bit, but like Anthony Rizzo can go walk his dog through the park.
I've witnessed Rizzo literally walk his dog and no one talks to him.
Yeah, and that's part of, I think, like this appeal to veterans of like, well, like go handle the pressure and all that stuff. A lot of it is like, dude, fuck it. Like you get out there, no one's really in your business to the extent that they are in smaller markets and stuff. So it's interesting to me about Judge is he's like a phenomenal public superstar where Jeter was so private and unavailable. Like you see Judge like doing pranks and being on NBC and like, I feel like he's more forward about his love for New York and putting that out publicly. And he seems like he almost seems like the perfect person. Like if you were to even say Mike Trout might be a better baseball player on paper or whatever, I think Aaron Judge would still make a better Yankee.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I also think part of that too is maybe just like day and age of when Derek Jeter was at this point in his career. Like there just wasn't social media to see as much what he was doing, but like he was out at the clubs every night. Like I don't think Judge is like that, but yeah, he's a great ambassador for the Yankees. Like he is always, he knows what it means to be a Yankee, and he carries himself very well in that regard.
Yeah, you couldn't craft a guy to take over the Jeter throne, like in terms of like carrying the Yankees logo and just embodying what a Yankee is than Aaron Judge. You just couldn't.
It is also weird when like you sent over those notes before the show and it said like the captain, and it's my brain is still wired when I see the captain. I'm just like Derek Jeter. Like anytime I see the captain or it's like the Yankee Twitter account tweets it out, it's like it's still a weird transition in my brain where it's like I see the captain, I assume Derek Jeter.
Well, you got to win that when the championship comes. I think the captainship will stick a little bit.
Yeah.
More. So here's the last thing I wanted to kind of close on because it's just like a great transition piece. Hubs, you picked up Volpe right away. You've been talking about him for a long time. There's a couple things I think like the Yankees need if I'm going to talk about the Yankees. They need a guy in October when it's cold outside who's terrifying. You guys have that in Garrett Cole. Obviously, like a superstar global player, you have that in Aaron Judge. A shortstop that you look at and you're like, this guy is going to play for a couple decades. You're missing the catcher. I would do anything to have JT Real Muto or some hard-nosed, tough dick motherfucker back behind home plate for you guys. But it's great at least they have this shortstop. And so is it unfair for me to look at this kid, even if he has an 88 OPS plus or 77 at the end of the year, who gives a shit? Is it fair for me to look at this kid and be like, you know what? 12, 15 years for the Yankees, because that's the vibe I get. And everything, and we made fun of you early at the season, Hubs, because you talked about his face and all that shit. But I believe that. I like sincerely.
What are you saying about his face?
I told Clemmer that he looks like a winner, and Clemmer was like, what does that mean? Because he doesn't fucking know what a winner would look like if it hit him in the face. But no, I listen, 12 to 15, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I do love what I'm seeing. And like people have to understand that he's still developing. Like we skipped a year of development so he could just be here. So he's still working out the kinks and all that. And you see a lot of good. There's some bad. It's going to happen. Like there are rookies who struggle. Like it just happens. He's not struggling, I'd per se, but he's not like taking off. But his defense overall and his speed that he brings and the bat here and there, and he gets his little walk-off sack fly the other day, it's coming. It's coming. April to start April, it was tough. Then it got better and better. Now it's kind of he'll take off again. I trust Anthony Volpe. I trust that he will figure this out throughout his career, and he will be a very, very good Yankee.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the numbers; they're not great at all. But I mean, he does have 7 homers already. Like that's on pace for 22 home run season or something. Like, and he's had moments. Like, he's had some moments where you just are like, all right, this guy gets it. Like he can handle the big moment. Yeah, I mean, he's a super young guy, and it's rare for a Julio Rodriguez who comes on and just like takes the world by storm. Like that's more rare than common. So I think that he'll be all right. I everything so far, yeah, would it be nice if he was hitting even 250 or something? Sure. But everything so far that you've seen has been like, okay, I get why there's been hype around this kid, and it's just a matter of him growing into it.
Yep. Hey guys, I want to thank you so much for the Yankees talk today. This is great shit. Tom, always a pleasure talking baseball with you. One thing, Tom, before I let you go, you said you were on an Nestor Cortez when no one knew about him?
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say when no one knew about him, but early on. Is there anybody, last thing I'd like to know, who on the Yankees team this year? Like, is there nobody that's kind of pulling Smoke's heartstrings this year?
Well, I would say I was first on him last year, and Hub's going to test Ron Marinaccio.
I knew that's who it was going to be.
Fan.
Yeah.
He
Perfect
it was like
Yankee
after an
name.
April start last year where relief appearance where he was pretty bad. And I was like, no, this kid's got it. And he struggled a little bit lately, but overall he's been good. Like it's been a tumultuous bullpen. He's somebody I would put towards the top of a bullpen trust tree. Like Ron Marinaccio, I think should be the future closer of the Yankees.
Okay, we'll get the T-shirts designed. I like a mariachi band, but like some sort of it. We'll do the research on it. Smokes, thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you on again.
Yeah, sounds good.
Always good talking Yankee baseball with Smokes. Like that's a sincere. When I'm out in the New York office and I see Smokes, it's like, what's going on with the team? What's going on with the squad? Not an understatement to say absolute diehard. You guys have always done a good job with the Yankees. So I don't want to suck your dick, but Hubs, I like what you guys do with the Yankees.
Thank you. I won't say no to that.
Can we, you like that one, huh, Chris? Thanks. Okay, pal. Appreciate it. In Short Porch, are we plugging that? Does that still come out at all?
We do it like once a month now when we can. It's more of a hobby right now, but we do a lot of TikTok and Instagram Reels now. So look for that more than the podcast.
That's the passion project, boys. That's when you know it matters. Okay, so I'm passionate about playoff races. Let's stay in the AL East quick because we just did a great job on the Yankees. At the time of recording, they are in third place at 30-21, which I believe would be first place in every other division. As the best division in baseball is the AL East, 5 teams over 500. Is it possible that they send 4 playoff teams? Are we looking at? Is it going to be one of those situations where like the 5th team in the AL East, you're like, man, they got fucked?
I don't know. I still think one of the Rangers and Astros like get that other slot. I don't think it's gonna be 4. I think it's gonna be 3 teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very comfortable with 3. I think that obviously the Blue Jays still have a very high ceiling. But I would go with 3. But I think that 4 of these teams with a week of regular season ball remaining will all have realistic shots at the postseason, if not already like in the postseason. Like the Blue Jays may not be playoffs yet, but they're like playoffs adjacent, where they're in that race. The Red Sox, I think the Red Sox, are finally starting to fall off. I think. I mean, the Angels just beat the shit out of them. So, I think that they'll be quite a long distance away from the next 4. But yeah, I'm comfortable with 3.
Yeah, I don't think Baltimore is going anywhere from what I've seen. That offense,
no,
and they're going to add. Like I think they're going to add something. And they're just in a winning mode right now. The Yankees have played the hardest schedule to this point. And they're going to get healthier. They're not going anywhere. Tampa's not going anywhere. It depends if Toronto wants to pick up their shit, right? Like I don't really, their offense has been fun to this point. I don't really expect it to continue the whole year. But like you said, they're going to be in contention. All 5 of these teams are going to be in some sort of contention here moving. That's crazy. You just can't say that about any other division here. I just think at the end of the day, both Texas and Houston, Texas looks legit. We're going to get into them. I think both Texas and Houston get in, and that would mean that there's 3 AL East teams getting in.
Yeah, I think it's only happened one time in the history of baseball where a division did not have a team finish under 500, but never has a team all finished over 500. The 2005 Washington Nationals closed the season 1-7 to be 81-81, I believe. It would have been the first time in history. Toronto's 2-8 over their last 10. Boston's 4-6 over their last 10. Quick note about the Rays. It looks like if you've just casually check scores, like, man, maybe the Rays are starting to, they're 6-4 over their last 10. So like, even though they're kind of, are they starting to slow down a little bit? The answer is no, absolutely not. One point I'd like to make about Boston, and maybe this is a meatball take, but man, June and July, I feel like Fenway is just like impossible to win there. Like I feel like Sweet Caroline's played a little bit louder. I think the fans are a little bit drunker. You got the boys home from summer, like taking the train in. We gotta go see the Sox play. Like, am I wrong to say that?
No, definitely not. It's definitely a place that, at least as a fan, like I don't feel great when the Yankees go there. And like Garrett Cole could be throwing 8 straight games of shutout baseball, and he goes there and he's just a different person. Like there's an atmosphere there that takes over you. You have to respect that. And I think this offense can hit. Like they haven't hit lately, but I think this offense could definitely hit. It all comes back to the pitching. Like, and to this point, they've held their own. But man, are they held by they're held by strings. And if one piece falls, there's not much to help the other pieces from staying together.
Mm-hmm.
You look at a rotation. I guess Whitlock's back this weekend, right? So Sale, Whitlock, Houck, Bello, Paxton. That doesn't scare you as a whole, like that. And they just
Houck looked good. Come on, Houck looked okay.
He has. He has. I definitely. He is a guy though. Him and Whitlock. That if they just and they don't have the luxury of doing this, right? Because Kluber's been terrible, and they just moved him out of the rotation. But if Houck and Whitlock were permanent relievers for them, that would be a terrifying bullpen. Like those guys, Whitlock shows flashes here as a starter. Man, when they had him as a 2-inning reliever, it was fucking unfair. I don't want to face those guys. And Houck kind of, he's got that sidewinder action to you. Those are guys just like, I'm almost happy they're starters rather than relievers. And I mean, they don't have the luxury of making them relievers, right? So they're forcing them to do this because of how they're constructed. But I'm just happy they aren't relievers. That's all I'm saying.
I think I should clarify my comments about Houck. He had a good start against the Angels.
Okay. Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and I think it's like, I think we're lucky as baseball fans to have this division be this good. I think this is a fun wrinkle because it's never happened before. Now that we have it, any one of these teams could get extremely hot and win 10 in a row.
Yeah, I will say one quick thing on the Rays. Who's back this weekend is Tyler Glasnow. That's
that's soon.
Unless I'm like
terribly mistaken, or is it a rehab start?
No, I thought he was back this weekend. Am I just totally wrong here? Tyler Glasnow.
I feel like you got to get trained.
No, he's back this weekend. Yeah.
I feel like you got to get trained by Bob Baffert to get back that quickly. Maybe that'd be great if Tyler get. Let's just transition here. I got to get to the West. West. All right. Now, if this is not going to be an American League show if we don't give a ton of credit to the Texas Rangers. Now, we've done it progressively week after week. I think we've built up some good momentum here. So we talked about Bruce Bochy and the signings and the prospects and the depth. So, now we're realistically at the point we've set the stage. The Rangers are a great team, and the Astros have had a stranglehold on that division. But I believe at the time of recording, the Rangers lead baseball in run differential. They lead baseball in runs scored per game. So this isn't like a gimmick through April. This is real. This is legit. Corey Seager is back. So the question in the prompt is moving away from whether or not the Rangers are the real deal. It's like, now the question is, if you're Houston, are you panicking?
Yeah. Dude, for the first time now, Texas has some good offenses in the past, right? But the always knock has been the pitching. Have we really taken in what Nathan Eovaldi has done in the last 5 starts here? I'm just going to read them off real quick. 9, a complete game against the Pirates. Oh, sorry, I'll start from the beginning. A complete game shutout against the Yankees. Then 8 shutout against the Angels. 8 2/3 shutout against the A's. 7 innings, 3 runs against the Braves. and then another complete game, 1 run against the Pirates.
Yeah.
What's going on? What's happening? He is unbelievable. And, you thought you were going to have to, it's going to be DeGrom, and he is coming back. And then you have Martin Perez. And then the other guy, John Gray, Haney, Dunning, they're all doing their rotation is the best it's been in so fucking long. It is such a difference maker for this team right now. And that is why it's, they're leading the league in runs scored. No doubt. That's awesome. But the pitching has really holy crap, this is a good team.
They are. And they're deep and they're talented. They have a very good mix of veterans and young guys, and they have an excellent manager. With all that said, and I'm glad you brought up Eovaldi, because even before I think his last 2 starts, has anybody been paying attention to the fact that Nathan Eovaldi's looked like how we thought DeGrom would look? If I'm an Astros fan, I'm not at panic mode yet, because you had your bad stretch. They were 500 basically for the first month plus. I know they just had kind of a rough series against the Brewers, but they've come around. And I know the Rangers, I think, won 2 out of 3 the first time these 2 teams played. Considering how subpar Texas's bullpen has been, I'm not panicking if I'm an Astros fan until we lose another series to Texas, because I think that I don't know when they play again. That will be Texas's Achilles heel all year. Now, Will Smith has been fine as their closer, but I worry about their middle relief. I think what you look at, one of the reasons they've been so successful, you have a guy like Eovaldi who, it's very convenient when you don't have to use your bullpen at all, which is basically what they've done when he's pitched. I do feel like the deeper the season goes, we saw with the Braves in 21, we definitely saw it with the Astros last year. The importance of bullpens is can't be overstated. Are they going to have that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th inning guys who are going to come in there, pitch 4 scoreless and strike out 8? I don't know. But as overall roster construction, fantastic. And it's worth mentioning too. We talk about this with the Orioles. We should. It's an incredible story. The Rangers were, I think, the 3rd worst team in baseball 2 years ago. They were,
but they were trying to be the worst. To be fair, they were trying.
But it was a short tank and a pretty darn quick turnaround. You put your fans through that shit for basically 1 year. All right, good draft pick. Let's go out for your patience. We're going to go out and get Semien and Seager, and next year we're going to add DeGrom and Eovaldi, and we're going to get John Gray as a part of that too. And
we're going to add Bruce Bochy, and we're going to give you a brand new ballpark, and we're going to have an all-star game at it, all while Houston Astros are dominating in a dynasty fashion. They're like, no, we're not just going to turn around, Chris. We're going to add all these special perks.
Pretty cool. I will say two things. One, I'm going to walk back. The Astros aren't panicking. The Astros don't panic. The Astros are going to be in the playoffs, I would imagine. And that's a team that, if you're a fan, you believe if they get in the dance, we can beat anybody. So they're not panicking in the slightest whatsoever. And I have lost my second point, so keep going.
Well, Chris is locked and loaded. He's got 7. He's just unload on me right now, Cass. What do you got?
Yeah.
Well, no, I do. Honestly, I didn't even have a point to make. I was just excited.
Okay, so how about this, though? As this show comes out, we have the Orioles and the Rangers play each other, and I love the timing of the series. It's a 6:05 Friday night. Jonathan Gray, veteran, versus Grayson. And then we've got Heaney versus Kramer and Dunning versus Bradish. So a pretty lucky that the Orioles don't have to see Eovaldi. And the Rangers are going to get a pretty fair look.
You guys have played this year, right?
What the Orioles rotation is.
Yeah.
Right? This isn't they got some bum up or anything. Obviously they'd rather have Tyler Wells going. Case take your fucking mute off. What? I guess does this series matter for when we show up and do our power ranking panel on Monday, right? This one fucking matters. We should do the power ranking after this one. We should watch the Baltimore Rangers game and the Orioles game, and we should let this series dictate who's higher on the power ranking panel. This is a big matchup.
Yeah, it's a huge matchup, and I feel like the Orioles have played some really tough teams lately. They kind of got thrown into the fire here pretty quickly. I guess what is interesting to me, because I like both these teams a lot, and I respect the hell out of the Rangers and the way they've rebuilt this thing. I feel the same way about Baltimore. right now, which of these teams do you think, let me start over. Between these two teams, which one do you think could win the World Series today? Like, could you see either of them doing it? Or do you still feel like there's too many incomplete pieces on both of these teams?
Texas, no doubt. No doubt. You got Corey Seager, who literally has that championship pedigree with him. You've got veteran Nathan Eovaldi, same type of deal. You have guys like the Orioles. You match up with the Orioles in the playoffs. Yes, that offense is terrifying. You're never going to see a starter. Like, Grace isn't there yet. You're not going to see a starter that's going to intimidate you. When you throw out DeGrom and Eovaldi in a playoff series to start, and then you have that offense, that is not fun. That is a team that I would be terrified of. And I remember my point. I think Aroldis Chapman will be a Texas Ranger in the second half.
I mean, what a fucking tangent that just opened up. That's like a Spider-Man movie. We just went into a new universe with this idea of Aroldis Chapman going down to Texas. So, like, we can come back to that. I do want to say I agree wholeheartedly that Texas is a much better World Series at this point on paper. Fucking eighth. Sorry, guys. Brandon Hyde's running one. You got Bruce Bochy running the other. I don't want to complicate things.
I was more going to bring it in and not go to Spider-Man tangent, but that I think Texas will add to that bullpen very strongly. Like, that is a team not afraid to spend and add, and he will be out there. And I do think that, that is a concern right now. I do not anticipate that being a concern in the second half. They are going to add and make sure that bullpen is reinforced.
I think that when you're looking at what these two teams need, it is much easier to just pick and choose a few bullpen pieces at the deadline than it is to rebuild your rotation. Like, even with the name that keeps getting thrown around is Giolito, and I like Lucas Giolito, but even if the Orioles get Gio and he goes back to 2019 form, I still like, okay, then it's Gibson going game 2. Like, there's that you're still kind of climbing an uphill battle. As annoying as it is to have a subpar bullpen, that part of your team can be fixable with the right moves at the deadline.
Yeah, one analogy I would draw to that playoff rotation, like, if you told me that Giolito was 1 and they were running Wells out 2, you'd be clenching your butt cheeks throughout that series. It's the same way with, like, how the White Sox have been, like, opening the start of the season. They're like, well, if everyone just has a career year. Like, you can't walk into a playoff series and be like, well, if we just have, like, if these guys just pitch at their absolute best of their best in the start. So I think that is a huge disadvantage to the Orioles. Now, here's a great test for Orioles fans. This trade deadline of the Orioles fans might be one of the most important trade deadlines for any fan base because, owner's cheap as fuck. They're on the way out. You're in extremely probably the most competitive division at the time of the trade deadline in the history of baseball, or one of the most. There's all these reasons, but then hold on a second. Adley Rutschman and Brandon Hyde was manager of the year. You have all these compelling reasons to invest in the team. If they don't do shit to help that team win, and you're if at this point they can't do it, out. I'm gone.
Can't you just see it, though? 4 o'clock hits at the deadline, and you're like, well, the Orioles stay put. They didn't do anything. You can just see it.
It's scary because I think they have done, at least Mike Elias on the side of things, has done everything correct in the way that they've rebuilt this thing. That final step is that you put your faith in ownership. And sometimes it works. Like, obviously, it worked with the Cubs during their rebuild. It's worked with the Astros, but you look on, the other side of Chicago, it's like, that, you could talk about underperformance of some of these guys, and I get it. What ultimately made the difference was the indifference of ownership when, not to say they didn't spend, but they were, Machado and Harper were there, and you didn't really make a push. I worry about that with Baltimore because I think that final step is the biggest question mark here, and it would be such a disappointment given the way that they played this year at a 100+ win pace to be like, we're content standing pat at the deadline. And I'm not saying go out, sell Gunnar Henderson and your top prospect. I just mean, like, get an Eduardo Rodriguez, get a Lucas Giolito, get someone where you're officially saying, hey, our feet are in the fire. Let's try to make a run at this.
Yeah.
Now, here's what's so interesting to me about Baltimore. We were in the West, went back to Baltimore. That's how interesting the Orioles are. But then again, hey, though, this is the thing about the West, because it's a narrow at the top division where there's frustrations when you talk about the Angels. There's frustrations with the Athletics. This isn't necessarily a division you get up for, and the Rangers are managing to do it. So kudos to them. Can we just real quick, and by the way, Seattle, get your shit together. I'm dying to come in here to talk about the Padres because I know how bad you guys love it. The way the Mariners fit into the Seattle community is tier one stuff. Another tier one community team in Major League Baseball, Hubs, you smirked at them, but it is the White Sox. The way the White Sox mean to their fans is as much as any team can mean to anybody in any fucking sport, anywhere you play them. The Sox are 7-3 over their last 10. They're now 5.5 back in the Minnesota Twins, even though they're 21-30 after this nightmare.
That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing to say. They're 21-30. They're 5 back at first.
and looking up at Detroit in second place. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Can they make a run? Can the White Sox make a run?
Yeah, how can you not? You're 5 back. Anything can happen. It's May 25th as we record this. Of course, the talent's there. 7-3. Man, Kopech, I know he's on our list to talk about. I watched that start yesterday. I was blown away. I thought Pedro Martinez was pitching. They can make a run. It's anyone's game except the Royals. Anyone in that division, even your Tigers, Chris. 2.5 back. You're right there. And Twins aren't running away with anything here. They should be, but they're not. It's anyone's game.
This is going to sound. I never thought I'd say this, especially even as recently as 2 weeks ago. In the AL Central right now, I'm more concerned about Cleveland than I am the White Sox. Because to me, the White Sox what causes them to lose games is they do a lot of dumb shit. Now, dumb shit is correctable. A team like Cleveland is known smart baseball. Fundamental baseball. You're putting the ball in play. You have pitchers that throw strikes. They're not doing that right now. And as far as making a run through October, no, they'll do what the AL Central will do this year, which is they'll get to that first round and get popped. But win the division, yes, because Kopech's been great in his last few starts. Super high ceiling. Robert got red hot. Super high ceiling. I mean, they are the most talented team, or at least most top heavy team on paper. In that division, just played a good series against Cleveland. They got a big series coming up now against my Tigers. So, it's under normal circumstances, 21-30. We're talking about, okay, who are they shipping at the deadline? But now in this division, 21-30, it's how close are we to first place? So it's a bizarre series of circumstances. But I think they're another team that's going to have a very interesting deadline, because what do you do? I mean, if you're 5 games under and you're 3 games back, I feel like can you?
Are you joking? This is the team that traded Fernando Tatis Jr. for James Shield. Of course, they're going to sell so that they can make a run at the playoffs. Yeah. They would do anything to hang an AL Central banner in that outfield after all the shit talking inside and outside. Okay, cool fact about Michael Kopech. I saw his start pretty close the other against the Royals. And I sat close enough to be impressed in person. And I talked to a couple of players on the Royals afterwards. I've said on the show 1,000 times. I coached Michael Massey. He went to my high school, and then he played at my college. He's a very good family friend. So I get a lot of cool, insight. Some cool insight, I should say. This is the type of insight. I go, fuck, man, Kopech. What? Is that different? What's going on? And he was like, everybody here is awesome. He had walked a couple guys in his last start, and he gave up a couple hits more than normal to start before. So they're coming in interested, I'm kind of cold, what type of Michael Kopech? What are we doing? He goes, that's literally the best pitcher I've ever seen in Major League Baseball tonight. That's 99 miles an hour, looking like a wiffle ball, and sliding, cutting, dipping, rising. And so to see him string it together back-to-back starts after that endorsement, again, you could come back and say, what the fuck does Mass, what is Pat or Matt Duffy, or what do these guys know? They were that guy was a completely different pitch. That's the Michael Kopech that the scouting report talks about when you're you got to be careful because this guy's fucking nasty and has a top arm. And we very quickly forgot about, I shouldn't say he's kind of forced us to forget about him, but it would be super interesting to me to see if the White Sox get hot and they rode Kopech in this wave here. And then Dylan Cease started to get pretty hot. And if you rode these two guys into a playoff series and they were at their best, would you argue that there is another 1-2 at their best that has more elite stuff?
Probably.
Stuff.
Elite stuff, no. I still think the team would probably find a way to fuck it up. But and we're talking elite stuff, those two guys, that's not the issue with them. Trust me. I mean, they're explosive. So yeah, probably. Yeah.
Could they go to an ALCS subs?
The White Sox? No.
I'm going to say it right now. I think they're going to win the division. And I think the White Sox will play a fifth game in the DS this year. How about that?
That's asinine. And did I mishear you, or did you just say Giolito and Kopech is the best 1-2?
No,
Cease and Kopech.
In terms of pure stuff.
When they are at their best, if everybody's all healthy and you don't have any injuries and the sun is shining, you had a good meal for breakfast, your girlfriend blew you last night, like take all the factors off the table. Everything's great. Your stuff's awesome. Kopech and Cease have like multiple plus offerings. Multiple.
I'd go Cole Rodon before them, but like, yeah, I will hear that that's a top tier 1-2 and
you're right.
Consider all of that, but I'd still go Cole Rodon.
You're right, because as I was putting that together, I'm such a fuck. I'm like making my own. I'm making my own hypothetical, and I'm like, well, never mind. Rodani's hurt. Like, dude, your hypothetical says they're all healthy and happy. Yeah. So okay, but my point is, Kopech and Cease are good enough to surprise you. So
sure. I will say, you look at Kopech's Baseball Savant page. There's just too much blue here. It's crazy. Like for the guy that you just watched, Carl, and the guy I watched yesterday, his start, it makes no sense that his percentages and it's just insane. I don't get. He's like a Jekyll and Hyde type pitcher. You see this guy who could be Pedro Martinez-esque, and then his bad starts are just so bad. He's so inconsistent. It's a shame. Mm-hmm. He's really good though.
I think his issue. I'm not going to say they fucked up his development, but when you look at his career, he's 27. He's been around for a minute. This is only his second full year as a starter. In 2018 he started 4 games. Then he missed 2 years of baseball. He missed for all of 2019 with Tommy John, and then didn't play in 2020. Comes back in 2021 as a reliever. Does start 4 games, but they're spot starts. It's not full season. Last year at 26 was really his first kind of stepping into that arena as every fifth day starter. So like it would not shock me to see him kind of find his ceiling here at 27, because it seems like he's finally growing more comfortable in that role. And I mean, he was so hyped up when he was coming through their system. I mean, they were expecting like he was going to be ace from day one. So yeah, it's not shocking to see him kind of finding it here because of how good his stuff is.
Yeah. My dad's a White Sox fan, so he's getting older. I want to talk about him while he's still with. I'm just kidding. Indians, okay, we're just going to gloss over them quickly because I want to spend a second for the Tigers. Staying power, you believe in their 22-25, 2.5 back. That's kind of been a fun story at the AL Central, the possibility of being very fun. It's July, it's warm, they've got a winning record. Matt Vierling is becoming a household name. Spencer Torkelson doesn't upset you every night. Is this a world we live in, or is it just like we're just training Eduardo?
It's fun, but I know it will not last. It's one of those things, I've talked about it before, where we talked about it with the Nats when Clemmer was on. You know you're not good, but we are 47 games into the season, and we're 2.5 back. And I know we're 2.5 back in the worst division ever, but I don't know. Considering the fact that we got shut out 22 times last year, like I'm fine with watching a team that's several games back. I guess what has me more excited, Shirley, is I am more optimistic about the future and the championship or success window being closer than I expected it to be. Like, I think when Scott Harris arrived here, I'm thinking, God, probably 3-4 years till playoffs. With the right moves and the right luck, I think this thing can get off the ground a little bit quicker. And I got to give a shout out because we've mentioned it before. Scrap heap pieces. You know, those guys that you find who nobody thinks much of. Maybe you get them on minor league contracts, right? And they kind of come in and play a big role for you. Now, I think the Yankees have done a great job with that over the last several years. Nestor Cortez was kind of like that. You know, he leaves Seattle, you get him back. One guy I got to give a shout out to who has become basically the Tigers' usual leadoff hitter, though they never bat him against lefties. Like Zach McKinstry was cut by the Dodgers 5 days before the season starts. Tigers pick him up. He, I believe, is like in the top 5 in weighted runs created plus among AL second basemen right now. That to me, sign that your GM knows what he's doing. Oh yeah, this guy that like basically is an afterthought. I see something in him. Let's bring him back. That excites me a ton because Tigers have had so many prospects over the years who we thought highly of, who just never got developed right and never found it. To get somebody like Zach McKinstry gives me a lot of hope about the future of when the day comes when, some of the big prospects finally start to arrive and get here.
Yeah, the division's played out as it's had to for you to be in this spot. Like everything has kind of broke your way to beat 2.5 back at this point. So yeah, it's exciting. And I guess Riley Green is like turned into what Torque is not there right now. Maybe it's coming, down the road, but Riley Green is legitimate. Like, wow, this is an exciting young player who is kind of turning into what we imagined he'd be. That's all you can ask for as a Tiger fan right now, and to be 2.5 back. So yeah, this is a dream start. You're below 500, but it's a dream start. As funny as that is.
Well, considering the fact that our seasons ended in like April 15th,
right?
Like to be where it's Memorial Day and there's something to play for. That's great.
Fun. Good for you.
I also want to give a shout out, man. This team last year had a top 10 bullpen ERA. They traded Michael Fulmer at the deadline. They traded Gregory Soto. They traded Joe Jimenez and Andrew Chafin signed in free agency. Right now, I believe in the last month, they are third in all of baseball in bullpen ERA. Which is one, Chris Fetter, the pitching coach, is a god. I mean, what he's done here with that pen is unbelievable. They're 8-9. You talk about 1-2 punches. Jason Foley and Alex Lang are about as good as anyone in terms of back end of games. Lang has a 1.27 ERA. Foley's is not much worse. I think Foley is bad radio here. 1.77 ERA. That's super exciting because the reason the Tigers don't have a World Series since 1984 is their bullpen constantly spit it up late in games. The fact that I'm comfortable knowing that there's a pitching coach who can take basically any talent. And like, dude, Chasen Shreve is pitching meaningful innings for us right now. Like I didn't
don't know who that is.
Oh, I do.
I remember with the Yankees, I did not know he was still in baseball. Did not know he was still in baseball.
I did not know he was pitching for you guys. That is crazy.
He got off. His first 2 outings were terrible, and I'm like, we're gonna cut his ass. Then he's actually found it and been pretty darn good over the last month. So yeah, that's a positive sign.
Joel Zamaya, is he still alive? Okay, so
he's still alive. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Hey, good. I think GM should not be allowed to trade for bullpen help at the trade deadline. I think you should start the season with your relief pitchers. You should declare who your relief pitchers are. That should be your pile of relief pitchers you play with, because it's trash that a GM should ever have to trade prospect capital because they couldn't find a fucking lefty who could throw a sweeper. Like the fact that someone had to trade for Andrew Chafin. How much did Andrew Chafin cost? $6 million? Like probably less than that. I mean, that's pathetic to me. Trading for a deadline, like if anything, it should be, and it's a great farm system thing where it's like, yo, we can only bring up relievers from within. That's a ridiculous thing. Players Union will be very unhappy I suggested that. Okay, there's a couple more things I want to get to. This is the American League show. This is Friday. Obviously, we're going to be back. Even though it's Memorial Day, I don't care. We're going to be back for the power rankings. And if I got to stitch together, if I got to get Ronnie Woo-Woo out of Wrigley Field to do it with me, I will. Don't think I won't.
No, you got me. I'll be here.
Okay, Castellani, I'm going to need you to commit right now on the spot.
Oh, no, I'll be here. Yeah.
Okay, good. And Clemmer, I'm not going to ask you. I'm just going to tie you to a fucking...
No one has plans but Clemmer. You don't have to worry about...
He's an older guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Castellani sent me a couple prompts before. I was going to do a miscellaneous grab bag. We have a couple minutes here to wrap up the show. We did talk about Eduardo Rodriguez. We've talked a lot about Sonny Gray and Nathan Eovaldi. So there was a segment I had in mind about like more of a surprise between the three. I would just say Eduardo Rodriguez. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that. Like between the three, Sonny Gray, Eduardo Rodriguez, Sonny Gray probably has more staying power. Nathan Eovaldi probably has more to shut down a lineup in October, and Eduardo Rodriguez is probably more likely to throw you a no-hitter. I don't know. Is that fucking crazy?
I just forget, like, in terms of if the prompt is most surprising performance pitcher, how is it not Eduardo? Because I thought that guy was out of the game I didn't know if he was going to come back to baseball. Like I completely wrote off the notion that Eduardo Rodriguez would be a factor anymore in the game of baseball, and here he is, probably the top commodity at the deadline as a starting pitcher. That's crazy.
Yeah, I would say by the end of the year, when you look at Baseball Reference, of the guys you just said, the one who I think will have the best year is Sonny Gray. I think Eovaldi has the best stuff. I think that whole Erod, like, highest no-hitter potential is so correct. Because I was at the start against the Mets that he had, where he went 8 scoreless. It felt like he was throwing a no-hitter. Like, there was no traffic on the base paths that entire game. So, yeah, now, yeah, no, that was good, dude. That you could write a whole novel about last season and that saga, him going away for 3 months. But it would be an amazing arc. It would be an amazing arc if he went from being loathed to being a guy who ultimately got a cornerstone piece at the deadline for us. I think that'd be pretty cool. Hopefully that happens. Tigers need to catch a break, but it's definitely been fun to see his development and his confidence growing here since he's been acquired.
There's so much to be said about going to a team that's just going to let you be yourself and kind of figure your shit out, because we just expect these guys to be, like at the top end all the time. And there's so many like minute machinations that go into performing at an elite level where, like, I'm sure we're going to find out that Kopech did something small. He twisted a little bit different. He changed the landing, standing on a different side of a mound. And if you look at his last couple starts and then you look what he did the next two, like the spectrum and how wide that is can be generated from such a small thing. So when guys are great and guys are great for a consistent period of time, it's not just the talent. It's like the ability to repeat all that shit over and over again. And it's fucking awesome to see this guy get it together in Detroit. And Detroit's like, hey, we need you. Come figure this out. Like last year, no show, not good, whatever. And shout out Scotty Harris too. I guess I was just thinking, because you were bringing up McKinstry. McKinstry used to be a Cub. Alec Lang used to be a Cub. Scotty Harris used to work with the Cubs. And I just like picture in my head, like when I think of front offices and GMs, like I just hope it's like the way guys text on like a fantasy group chat where it's just like, yo, dude, like, is McKinstry still cooked? Like, it's like, Chad's like, let me tell you about this. Like, I would love to be on the inside of like, yo, dude, fuck you from the waiver wire. Like, we were going to get McKinstry. Like, no, we're going to let him play. And I don't know. There's just some like, Lang's having a great season for you guys. Like you said, that's another guy from the scrap heap pile. So,
dude, I feel like what you just said.
You don't know that, by the way, Hubs. I'm sorry. You'll never know that life as a Yankee fan. You will never, ever, ever, experience it.
No, for sure. But so when the Yankees DFA'd Hicks a few days ago, they traded for Greg Allen like hours before that. And they were talking how Greg Allen had an opt-out clause for the Red Sox. So I imagine, like, your fantasy text you're talking about, you imagine Cashman texting his boys like, you think Greg Allen's going to opt out? Like, we're going to get Greg Allen right now? Like, we won't get... They, like, were planning to get Greg Allen for a few days, and then when he opted out, they like, boom, we're trading for Greg Allen, see Aaron Hicks. Like, that's a little fun. I don't know.
I always wanted to be a GM. That's what I want. When I was like, I read Moneyball when I was a sophomore in high school. I was like, that's the path. That's the path.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at me now, Mom. Thanks for giving me the book. This is the Friday American League show. We have about a minute left here if anybody's got a personal thing. I bought a house this week.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, it talked about the plumber. Apparently he owned a similar house, so he's going to help me with some repairs. Hubs, where are you right now? What neighborhood is that?
Murray Hill? Murray Hill. Yeah.
Fucking gorgeous. You look...
Yeah, we had a nice little spot here. Nice little spot.
What do you think the percentage chance is that Chris Klemmer at some point as a child had a treehouse?
Oh my God.
It's astronomically high.
Okay, if no treehouse, we know he was like building forts. Like, where's Chris? Like, he's in the attic. He's assembling cardboard boxes under the blanket. And
for me, Chris is a big shoehorn guy. He just has a shoehorn on him at all times. Mr. Shoehorn.
God bless that man. Like, we're so... I mean, I'm lucky we get to talk baseball with that, dude. Lucky to talk baseball with you guys, and lucky for everybody who's tuned in. Subscribe to our stuff. We're going to be back on Monday. The baseball talk, we're just getting going. We're just flowing. The fucking boat is off and running. The current is strong. This is a bad close. I love you guys. Everybody have a good weekend. We'll see you guys on Memorial Day.